Hello, this is Book 22, and this is sort of your annotation walkthrough for those of you that need a little extra help. If you feel confident about Book 22, you don't necessarily need to have watched this, but hopefully you're watching because you want to get some extra assistance. And I'll point out some of the more important sections of this book to you so that way you can have those and be ready to go. Most likely, your third body paragraph will have to do with this book because Odysseus does some good stuff in it in terms of epic heroing. So here we go. Immediately, stripping back of his rags, Odysseus, master of craft and battle, vaults onto the threshold with his bow and arrow. Because remember, the very last thing that happened is he shot the arrow through the axes, and all the suitors were like, whoa, that was impressive. But at this point, they don't know he's Odysseus. They haven't seen Odysseus in 20 years, so they wouldn't recognize him even if they did know what he looked like. All they know is some beggar just walked in and beat the task in 2 seconds without any trouble. So there we are. And it's important to note that this is him showing he is a master of battle in this section. We haven't really seen him fight. He's been attacked by various things, but a lot of time it's him using his wiles to get out of it, him being crafty, him coming up with strategic plans. This is almost all battle action that happens in this chapter. We see the Odysseus that the Trojan War would have seen. So that's important, I think. Moving on. He shoots Antinous on that page. Nice. And when he starts shooting people, this is on page 440, the suitors burst into an uproar when they saw their leader Antinous down. They leapt from their seats, milling about, desperate, scanning the stone walls. Not a shield in sight, no rugged spear to seize. That's some nice alliteration with S. Not a shield in sight, no rugged spear to seize. Awesome. There's no weapons because Telemachus removed them all at his father's instruction. And they assume that it was maybe an accident. They are persuading themselves that the beggar killed Antinous accidentally, and they are unaware that their doom is already sealed. We know they're going to die. Tiresias in Book 11, when he told Odysseus the prophecy, knew that they were going to die. Odysseus is pretty sure he's going to kill them, but they are still hopeful that maybe they can get out of this situation. And Odysseus does reveal himself. He says, "You dogs," this is important, "you never imagined I'd return from Troy, so cocksure that you bled my house to death, ravished my serving women, wooed my wife behind my back while I was still alive. Your doom is sealed." So he says, I'm back. Thought you'd seen the last of me, but here he is, and they are terrified. At the bottom of your page 440, terror gripped them all, right? They know that their time is numbered. So their secondary leader, Eurymachus, remember there's Antinous and Eurymachus. Antinous is now dead, so all that's left is Eurymachus in terms of the leader. And he has sort of an approach he tries to take with Odysseus on 441. So if you turn to 441, and he tries to get Odysseus to spare them. And his tactic is this: but. Remember, but is important. And this is sort of strange because usually but is at the beginning of the line, and here it's in the middle. And that shows you just how frantic Eurymachus is, that all of his lines are messed up. But here he lies, quite dead, and he incited it all. Antinous, look, the man who drove us all to crime, right? So he's trying to blame Antinous and saying, Antinous made us do these things. We were just following him. It's really his fault, and now he's dead, so we're fine. He says that the suitors weren't thinking for themselves. They were just following along with what their leader was doing. Which, if we think about it, isn't really a good excuse, right? If your friend jumps off a bridge, you're not supposed to jump off the bridge too. but it's what he attempts to blame everything on. And he also says that they'll pay Odysseus back. We'll pay in full measure. We'll recoup your costs. We'll give you all your money back. But they have essentially been, tormenting Penelope for 10 years, almost 10 years. And they've been cruel to Telemachus. They've tried to take over. And that's not something that you can make up with money. So the battle master, who we know is Odysseus, says, "No, Eurymachus, not if you paid me all your father's wealth." Right? He's not going to accept money. And then the suitors know that all their only option is to fight. So we've got some nice pages of fighting. We have Telemachus, who grabs the weapons. So the only people armed for a few pages are Telemachus, Odysseus, and then their two loyal servants. The swineherd and the cowherd is the other loyal servant. So there's 4 of them that are armed against these, 100, now 99, because Antinous is dead, suitors. However, at the bottom of 443, we find out that one of the other non-loyal servants has betrayed them. He overheard their plan. He's a goat herd. This is at the bottom of 443. And he saw Telemachus hide the armor in the storeroom. Nowhere else, I'm sure the king and his gallant son have stowed their arms. So then he clambers through smoke ducts, which would just be like a fireplace sort of situation, and goes to get the other shields from the storeroom. And the spears and the helmets and all the weaponry. So obviously that's going to be problematic when the suitors get their hands on it, which they do shortly. So on 444, Telemachus says that once they see the suitors taking arms, Telemachus says, "My fault, father, the blame's all mine. That snug door to the vault, I left it ajar." So he left the door open just enough that they could sneak in accidentally. So Telemachus made a mistake, but he owns up to it. So we can see what the Greeks think about admitting your mistakes, right? Because if the epic heroes have the qualities that the culture admires, Telemachus counts as an epic hero in this book, I would say. So he obviously shows that it's good to admit your mistakes. On 445, they find the goat herd who betrayed them, and they essentially torture him and tie him up, and that'll continue later. So one question is, do they do the right thing in treating him this way? Should they have given him a second chance? I don't know, maybe. But that's what they do. They tie him up and leave him dangling from the ceiling. So then we get to the bottom of 445, and we have an example of divine intervention. So Zeus's daughter Athena sweeps in, disguised as a human. And Odysseus recognizes her, and we know that because he says, Odysseus, thrilled to see her, cries out, help us, help us. And Athena doesn't step in just yet. She wants to see what Odysseus can do on his own. So on 446, she asks him, where's it gone, Odysseus? Your power, your fighting heart, that great soldier who fought for famous white-armed Helen, battling Trojans 9 long years, non-stop, no mercy. How can you bewail the loss of your strength in a war with suitors, right? Who are these? These are just dudes that been drinking wine for years. You can't beat them. So she tries to, rally him. Because now that the suitors have arms, and arms as in weapons, it's 4 versus, again, as many as are left alive. So they're definitely outnumbered at this point. And Athena tries to rally Odysseus to fight, which it does work. However, no matter how good of a fighter Odysseus is, if you have 80 people that are after you with spears and bows and arrows, there's only so much you can do. And Athena knows this, and she's on Odysseus' side. So on page 447, we have an important point. Athena steps in. And there are 6 suitors that are trying to team up against Odysseus. 6 of them, are get together in a group huddle and say, if we all try to hit him at once, one of us has got to make it. All at a single hurl. 6 of us launch your spears at the same time. So at the suitor's command, all 6 hurled as one. So we have 6 spears heading right for Odysseus. But Athena uses her goddess powers and sends the whole salvo, the whole group of spears, wide of the mark. So the spears scatter and they don't hit Odysseus. They hit the doors, they hit the wall, but she shields Odysseus and Telemachus from being hit, because otherwise they just would have been run right through. So she makes the spears and the arrows miss their targets, which is important, and you should mark that. But any of these good examples of Odysseus, being brave, shooting, fighting, even though he's outnumbered, those would be good epic hero traits. On page 449, one of the suitors tries to beg for mercy. There's a good section at the top of 449. Mercy, spare my life. Never did I harass a woman in your house. My hands are clean. And Odysseus does not give them any mercy. He doesn't believe him. He says there's no escape from grueling death. You die. Right in the middle of the page. So again, if we're thinking of Greek valued traits, obviously mercy is not one, or at least in this situation. Later in the book, Telemachus does grant one of the servants mercy. So it seems like perhaps it depends on the circumstance. It's on the very next page. Telemachus says, stop, don't cut him down. This one is innocent, so is that one. And Odysseus, believes him. So perhaps mercy depends on the situation, but more likely than not, if you act, you'll be punished for it. And that's kind of their belief system. So 451, if we go to page 451, sorry, I'm going a little bit fast, but I think it'll be okay. 451, they fought, they've been protected by Athena, and Odysseus scanned his house to see if any man still skulked alive, still hoped to avoid black death. But, there's our keyword, he found them, one and all, in blood and dust. So between he and his son and their 2 servants and Athena's protection, they're able to defeat all of the suitors and kill all of them, every single one. Then the next couple pages, they pull out all the women, all the servants who were cavorting with the suitors and flirting with them and making their lives easier in Odysseus' house. And those women get punished, they get hung as traitors, so again, no mercy. And then they take all the bodies outside, prop them up, and clean the house. Now, the key thing is, they can't let the understanding that, or the knowledge that the suitors are all dead, get out. They have to kind of keep that a secret, because otherwise all the suitors' families, who are, they're lords, they're royal men, they're not princes or kings necessarily, but they're decently rich people. Otherwise all their families will be very angry. So they have to keep it a secret for now. Obviously, rumors spread fast, and that's what's going to happen in the next book, but for now, Odysseus has defeated them, and his side is still alive, which is great. So make sure you've marked these things. Make sure you've paid attention to, in the book, this chapter where Odysseus acted like an epic hero, where he showed those traits of bravery, confidence, determination, strength, all that good stuff. Find a couple good examples that you might be able to use in your body paragraph number 3 when we start writing that next week. And once you're finished with this, you can go ahead and move on to the assignment, which is the 1-pager, and there should be a link to it and a video explanation as well on the same Canvas announcement as this video. Thank you, and if you have any other specific questions about this book, please let me know.